Ben Brown, Evolution Martial Arts in Sparks, Nevada with Fire, and we just finished class. We're doing stand-up stuff. I think it's really important. When people start jiu-jitsu, they are not sure what to do, and so you get taken down incredibly easily. If you enter into a competition and someone wrestled in high school or something, they're going to dominate you because they've done thousands of reps on things and you're not sure what's happening. So I'm just trying to teach people, like, what are the objectives standing up both offensively and defensively, and then what are some habits that can lead to positive outcomes. So I'm going to reiterate something. The offensive objectives are I'm trying to connect to you, and you're trying to connect to me. Always. That's all that's happening. So if you connect to me, I want to disconnect you and then reconnect. And it's the same for you. So how do we connect? We connect in my mind 4 ways. 1, I want to control your head. That's a collar tie. So I've got the base of your skull. I'm connecting my forearm. I'm pulling everything in. And then I have to do something with this hand because all you would have to do is spin out that way and you're free. Like, I can't keep you there. So I have to have something else to keep you there. This is the easiest, just wrist control. Better than that, this would be my favorite, would be an underhook here, and then I connect my head. And you know that you have something good when you can move the person. And when I say move the person, I mean center of gravity. If I can move your center of gravity and you have a tough time stopping me, I'm connected. I'm moving you with my hips through the connection, right? So if I have this, even if it's just this, I'm gonna move you with my hips. The energy comes through my feet, to my hips, through my hips, to this connection, and I'm trying to move you. And you can even think of it as moving your hips, right? So resist me a little. So I can move you forward. If you start pushing back into me, then I pull you, right? I can steer you, I can turn, and that's connection, right? Head control, arm control. In wrestling, they call it wrist control. 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, or some other form of a 2-on-1. This is really good. Underhooks. I occupy the space between the elbow and the hip. So let's turn this side. I'm in here. Now this is nothing. I can't move your center of gravity with this. But when I get here, here, right, and wrist control, now I can, because I'm so connected. I can move your center of gravity, and you're going to have a hard time stopping that because I'm so connected, right? So underhook, along with one of those other things, a collar tie, a wrist control, or I can have double underhooks. That turns into the best thing, which is a body lock. And then the 4th thing is an overhook. You know the most common way to get an overhook is when you start to get an underhook and you don't connect yet, and then I clamp onto your arm right here. This is an overhook. So I can have an overhook with a frame right here. I can have an overhook with this. I can have an overhook with this. Overhooks, I think, are the weakest of all those, but it's a way to negate your connecting. And then the thing is, you're trying to disconnect me. So one thing we just did in class was what to do when someone starts to get an underhook. I mean, every time. Immediately as someone starts to get an underhook. So we're hand fighting here, we're trying to get these things, and Cyrus starts to get an underhook with this arm. Okay? Now, 2 places for your hand to go. Either grab my shoulder, yes, pull it in tight, connect your head. So this is awesome, that's probably the best. But another awesome thing to do would be to grab my hip. And now she's gonna connect her head, her hip, and she's looking for a gable grip. This is a body lock. This is the best thing you could possibly do. So before any of that happens, I made a mistake and I let you in there. I'm going to frame your head. So I'm going to keep you from connecting all the way to me, right? Mm-hmm. And now, see how she's got an angle advantage on me? Her hips face me and my hips face away. So the whole point of this frame is so that I can hip out and square back up to you. And then another thing I like to do, so go on this side here, I would frame. What I like to do is I like to get on the elbow here, because like if this frame fails, then you're still gonna connect to me, right? Mm-hmm. But if I go here and here, even if this frame fails, I still have a little something to work with here. So I just think that's a great habit is you start to get that underhook. I frame and I try to find your elbow, and I'm disconnecting and I'm hipping out just like we would do on the ground, right? So now I'm going to do it to you, nice and slow.
Okay.
And you're going to frame, I'm going to underhook here, you're going to frame, find my elbow,
okay,
and square back up, right? So we're here, I start to get inside, she frames, and and she squares back up. Now, as advanced as you are, purple belt, good at this, you're not going to be satisfied just to disconnect me. You're going to want to reconnect immediately, right? So instead of hipping out and squaring back up and being neutral, you want to take advantage of that moment, right? So you start to underhook me. I frame, I'm here. I'm going to try to take this in that scramble moment, in that moment where neither of us are winning. I'm not satisfied just to get here, because now we're neutral and I have a lot of work to do. But what happens is, when you defend something, a lot of times, there's something good right there. And I can get to where I want to be, right? Let's talk about another habit. A lot of times people reach and they're upright. And if you're paying attention here, you can see that when I reach, I open this. And if you're good, you're kind of waiting for that. You want me to reach when I'm upright, when my head's above your head, because you can take advantage of that moment. So, you do this all the time. Even before I was teaching this, I've seen you do this in class. You've done it to me, right? I reach and I'm lazy. Cyra's gonna shoot into that space and take a body lock. This really hard thing to get, because if I'm here, it's hard to body lock me. But if I start doing this and you see it, and the other thing you can do is kind of like pop my arm up with that one, right? And she's in. So how do I keep that from happening? Because I don't want that to happen. I don't want to, I have to connect to you. So I have to reach out at some point. What's going to protect me? I'm going to keep my head lower than yours when I reach.
okay,
Right? Because if I reach and you pop my arm up, you still can't get in because I'm lower than you see? But if I'm up here, that space is there.
yeah,
So as a habit, I will not reach unless my head is lower than yours. If my head is lower than yours, I'm pretty safe. Another thing, I mean, even without grabbing the body lock, because people are gonna sprawl on you. Sprawl is a common way to deal with a person trying to connect to you, right? So instead of getting your waist, I might just snatch your leg up in a single leg, right? But if you reach, so drop your head below mine, and then reach, even if it's a lazy reach, and I try to get your leg, I can't get it. You can move out, or you can drop this back down, and you can get that frame in place. Because when we're standing, our arms are our guard. I don't think a lot of people think of it that way. But your arms are your guard, okay? Both people have the same guard, and then our feet keep us mobile. On the ground, our legs are part of our guard. But on our feet, it's just our arms. So you have to get past my arms. There's two ways to do it. You can get inside, or you can get yourself behind my elbow. Those are kind of the two ways to do this, right? So we're jockeying for that position all the time. Another thing we covered today, I don't let people touch my head. You should not let people touch your head, and if they do, they don't get to stay there. So we have to know how to deal with this. If you're new at jiu-jitsu, it's hard. People are grabbing your head all the time. They're pulling your head down. And you're like, I don't know what to do about this. I'll show you what to do about it. There's a couple of things. Cyra tries to grab my head. And look, did you see she dropped her weight before she did that? Because you're smart, right? So the first thing is, as you start to reach, I'm just going to shrug. You see this? I'm closing this space off right here. So I bring my shoulder up to my jaw, and there's nothing to grab. She wants to be in here, in this space, this inside space between my ear and my shoulder. So if I'm early enough and you reach, I shrug and there's nothing to grab. And here's what's cool about that. Now my arm, you're extended. So at very least I can collar tie you, or I can get in there, right? I can start getting in there. And you did the smart thing, you brought your elbow in. So this is where good defense can turn into easy offense, right? Because if your hands are here and you're just like not letting me grab your head, don't let me grab your head. It's going to be hard to grab your head. But you know what makes it easy to grab your head is when you try to grab mine, and I block you, and I know that that's the best time, and I grab your head. So level 1 of head defense, collar tie defense, is shrugging. Like Floyd Mayweather. I use that example in class. That dude's hard to hit. He just sits right here in his Philly shell, right? He rolls, boom, and he counters. Well, this is kind of the same. Now, you're not going to do jiu-jitsu like this. Like, that's not practical. But when someone's trying to grab your head, you shrug. Second thing, let's say you do touch my head. You do start to get a collar tie, but you haven't connected your forearm yet. I can use my hands to get rid of you. Kind of the wax off, right? Or I shove across, or both. So you start to get it. And I'm going to be shrugging too, but look, she's already on my neck. I get you off of there. My arm's inside. And I turn that into my own collar tie maybe. Right? So that's kind of level 2 of that defense. So let's play for a second.
Okay.
And every once in a while, I'm going to let you get that so that I can get you off, and vice versa, right? So we're going to kind of mix in shrugging and wax off.
Okay.
Cool? Yep. So every once in a while, we sort of let each other so that we can practice defending. But in general, like, if it's real, you just don't let people do that. Ever, right? Level 3, they have connected. Boom. They're ready to start moving you. This is bad. You have to deal with it immediately. What's going to happen with this? Couple of things. What I do to people when I get this is I start moving them around to see their reactions. Right? So I push you back, you push forward, and then I start pulling you forward. And then you raise back up, and I duck down and I grab a single. When you get a collar tie, you can create reactions that open stuff up. So, if you collar tie me, before you can start doing all that, I have to deal with, so yeah, first thing I would get rid of that, or even before, I'm gonna shrug. This already doesn't feel good, right? You actually wanna let go now.
Yep.
I'm gonna reach, so her right arm, my right arm. I lock you in place so you can't let go. You wanna let go, but you can't. And I have to do this kind of carefully because it kind of is an Americana. You can feel that? I'm gonna twist my hips away from you, but I'm gonna look at you. I don't wanna do this because you're gonna tackle me. That's a double leg me, right? I twist and look at you, and I'm gonna pull this arm off of my head and onto my chest. And now I have a Russian tie or a 2-on-1. And look, I can start moving you around. I can turn this into a body lock, this single leg. So before I do that, what would you do? Frame, hip out, square up, and reconnect.
Yes.
That's all that's going on, you guys. So there's ways, there's techniques, but in general, we're trying to keep people from connecting to us. If they have connected to us, we disconnect them. We square our hips up, right? We take away the angle advantage, and we reconnect. And sometimes the reconnection happens instantaneously. The better you get, the sooner you reconnect. So I'm gonna turn good defense into easy offense if I can. Like, we're not spring chickens. We're not like the youngest people in this room ever, right? We're kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're trying to stave off father time and stay on these mats.
Yeah.
So we, in our youth, maybe we solved problems with speed and strength, and we can't do that anymore. Not against these young, there were some young people in here who are fit and fast and strong. You know who I'm talking about. We have to use technique and timing to do that. And so what I'll do is I'll bait people. I'll be like, grab my head. Whoa! Right? And I take advantage of that. Or, let's say you start to body lock me. Right? I frame, and then I'm taking, you see, like, right away I'm taking stuff. I'm not, I let people think they're getting something, and I use timing. I disconnect them very quickly, and I take inside space. And they wonder, what just happened? And you know what happens when you do that a bunch? They stop trying. They stop trying to connect.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. If you can take away, it's kind of like, I've gotten good at back escapes. And so people take my back and then I escape super easy and I get on top. Do you know what happens? They stop trying to take my back. If you can make a person not want to take your back,
Yeah.
you're winning.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They should always try to take my back. But in their head, they're like, I can't stay on it. I can't do any attacks. I end up on the bottom and he's passing my guard. This is kind of the same thing. I take away their desire to do the thing that they should be doing. Jiu-jitsu gets easier. I have to use less energy, right? And you do that too, because I watch you and you do it with me when we roll. So look, these are just some ideas. This is not comprehensive, but I'm trying to help people know, what do I do when I'm standing? Yeah, connect, disconnect, okay? You either have to get inside this space, body lock being the very best there is. I've already talked about that in videos. Or I have to get behind your elbow, which turns into essentially the same thing. So I have to go inside or I go around. In the last video I showed arm drags. We'll probably do some more arm dragging. That's all that's happening, and you're trying to keep them from doing that to you. You got anything to add?
No, I don't.
Right on. Thank you.
Thank you.